Taylor Swift. I mean, she's one of the biggest stars in the world right now and has been for the past 15 years. I mean, she's very commercially successful. She has a barrage of fans, and she's also really critically acclaimed. I mean, she's a Grammys darling. They absolutely love her. And yet one thing has eluded her thus far: the Academy Award. Yes, Taylor Swift has not only never won, but also never even been nominated for an Oscar, despite many opportunities to get one. So today I'm gonna break it all down. I'm gonna look at her entire cinematic career, what movies she's contributed to musically, and also look into her patchy acting career and the future prospects for directing and writing. And also look at maybe the likelihood of her winning an Oscar one day, which feels to me like it might not ever actually happen because they really don't seem to like her at the Academy Awards. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's first take a look at why she hasn't been nominated so far. So of course, Taylor Swift got her start in country music. She came out of the gate with her debut album and then dropped Fearless, her second album, and that just exploded. The hit song Love Story went everywhere, and she won a whole bunch of Grammys for Fearless, including the big one, Album of the Year. And so when she started to write songs for movies, you know, you'd think she would be a shoo-in to get nominations at the Oscars, but she didn't. Probably the one that I thought would get nominated and probably should have been nominated the most, Safe and Sound, featuring the Civil Wars for the Hunger Games in 2012. This song is so good. It's organic, it's real instrumentation, her voice sounds haunting and beautiful, it fits the movie really well. She was nominated for the Golden Globe for this, and she also won the Grammy for this for Best Song in a Movie, and yet was not nominated at the Oscars. And the reason for this is because it wasn't eligible. The song actually appears second in the credits, and according to Academy rules, it has to be the first song in the credits of a movie to be eligible. Taylor Swift missed out on an Oscar nomination for this song purely down to the rules and to the eligibility. So unfortunately, her best chance was also not possible. Just really kind of sad. The next year, she put out Sweeter Than Fiction from the movie One Chance, which starred James Corden. And this was actually shortlisted for the Academy Awards for Best Original Song, but wasn't nominated. It also got a Golden Globe nomination for Best Song. I think because the movie wasn't all that popular, it just kind of missed out. It didn't really get any other nominations or was talked about much through that award season, so it makes sense. It was also the year of Let It Go by Frozen, so I don't think anything was gonna beat Let It Go by Frozen. Then in 2017, she had I Don't Want to Live Forever featuring Zayn from One Direction, and this was for the movie 50 Shades Darker. And I think just me stating the movie is why that song wasn't nominated. That movie was critically panned, not just by the critics, but also by audiences. It was kind of a laughingstock. So I feel like that is the reason why the Oscars didn't nominate it. It was actually nominated at the Grammys for Best Movie Song, but missed out at the Oscars. And I feel because a movie like this is not the kind of movie they want to be awarding. This Taylor Swift song, I Don't Want to Live Forever with Zayn, is very poppy. And I think because it's a bit too poppy, they were like, not for us. We're not going to nominate it this year. It was shortlisted though, so it had the possibility to get in there, but alas, it never happened. The next possible Oscar nomination that Taylor Swift could have gotten is probably my favorite. It was for the movie Cats in 2019. She wrote the song Beautiful Ghosts with the legendary Andrew Lloyd Webber. He wrote the original Cats musical, and so they created a whole new song for the movie version, as they do. You know, they want to win Oscars, so they always craft like a whole new song for the movie musical version. And the song's like, okay. And I thought, being Andrew Lloyd Webber, maybe there's a chance she'll get in. And I'm sure when she wrote this song, she was like, I'm gonna get an Oscar because I'm working with Andrew Lloyd Webber. It's for Cats. It's directed by Tom Hooper, who directed The King's Speech, which is an Oscar-winning movie. Hands down, Taylor Swift's winning the Oscar. Then we all saw Cats. My God, I actually love the movie Cats because it is such a train wreck. I can't look away. I did not blink. I was just transfixed at the screen. It is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. The CGI, how this movie went through so many eyes and so many people at the studio and so many directors and actors and producers, and they all thought, yeah, this is good. Let's still put this out. Let's make this movie come out. Somehow this song, Beautiful Ghosts, still got nominated at the Grammys and the Golden Globes for Best Original Song in a Movie. It didn't actually end up getting shortlisted at all for the Oscars, and I think it's because of the movie. I think because the movie was so bad, the Oscars were like, I'm not even gonna listen to this. Like, why are you giving me this song to listen to? We all know the movie's trash.
That's what I say to you.
And the most recent chance that Taylor Swift had for an Academy Award nomination was last year, Carolina, from the movie Where The Crawdads Sing. And I thought this was probably like her best shot in recent years to get an Oscar nomination. I mean, it was very similar to the vibe she was doing with Folklore and Evermore, which were extremely critically and commercially acclaimed albums. I mean, Folklore won the Album of the Year Grammy. So I really did think that this change in Taylor Swift's genre of music, I thought that that would translate for the Academy too. I mean, the movie was just kind of like above average. It wasn't in the awards conversation very much. So it makes sense that the only really sole nomination that this movie could have gotten, it didn't end up getting. But I really did think that Taylor Swift's star power would push her over the line because it got a Grammy nomination, it got a Golden Globe nomination for Best Original Song. But once again, the Academy Awards were like, nah. So why is that? Like, let's look a little bit into why Taylor Swift can't seem to get herself an Oscar nomination. I think the first reason is that the Oscars are quite clicky, and especially in the music branch. I've noticed it quite a lot that the same kind of songwriters will get nominated every single year. I mean, Diane Warren, for one, she is nominated for literally the most obscure songs in the most obscure movies, and I actually did a video about that, so I don't know where it's showing up, but click there if you want to watch that. They do love to like nominate the same people over and over and over again, and I feel like if you're not in their inner circle, it's a lot harder to get nominated. And I find it weird because, you know, Taylor Swift is very beloved at the Grammy Awards. She's obviously in the inner circle there and has campaigned very well to be loved by a lot of the music industry and the Recording Academy. And yet that doesn't seem to be translating to the music branch at the Oscars. I find as well the music branch is made up of a lot of composers because it also includes nominees for Best Original Score. And so they're probably people that are more interested in that classic sound, organic music, the organic instruments, the kind of folksy and the country feel, or something more into like the movie musical realm because a lot of the nominees for Best Original Song come from musicals. So because the pop world isn't very well represented in the music branch at the Oscars, I wonder if that's why it's been a bit harder for Taylor Swift to kind of break through, which is definitely more in that pop world. And also the success of a movie can definitely propel a song to getting nominated, which is what we saw with Lady Gaga last year getting nominated for Top Gun and Rihanna getting nominated for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Where The Crawdads Sing, the movie for Taylor Swift's song, and especially a lot of the songs that she's written for movies in the past, a lot of those movies aren't very well known or very popular or very successful or really awards bait movies. So I feel like that's the reason why it's also not getting nominated. She needs like a smash hit movie with a smash hit song for them to realize this is undeniable, let's finally award Taylor Swift for this. And because the Academy love that kind of old school, classic, more organic sound, it's a lot harder for the pop artists to break through. I mean, just ask Madonna, who's never been nominated for an Academy Award, despite getting 6 Golden Globe nominations for writing movie songs and 3 Grammy nominations for writing a movie song. She's never been allowed into the Academy Awards. And I feel like that's a sign of just how pop and maybe pop music and female pop music artists are perceived in the Academy Awards. It's a tougher mountain to climb. It's a harder ceiling to break for them to get nominated. Look at Beyonce, for example. She's had many opportunities to be nominated. I mean, Dreamgirls, she wrote songs for Cadillac Records and The Lion King, the new remake, and she only got her first nomination 2 years ago for Be Alive for King Richard. It took her like so many years. It's a lot harder for these pop artists to get recognized when it comes to Best Original Song. And I feel like that when they do get recognized, it's for that classic sound. I mean, think of Adele and Sam Smith both winning for their James Bond song, which have real instrumentation or a little bit more organic in that sense. Even Lady Gaga, she had to go back to her roots and do some very like organic sounding songs like Shallow for A Star Is Born for her to win Best Original Song. It is interesting this sort of dislike that the Academy have for pop music. But let's look outside of the music branch for a moment. There's a possibility that Taylor Swift might actually be starting to campaign in some other categories. And we saw it last year when she campaigned her music video All Too Well, the short film, in the Best Live Action Short category at the Oscars. A lot of people were like crying foul a little bit, being like, I don't think she should be eligible. That's a music video, not a short film. But it did include some scenes of dialogue, so I think it is eligible for that for sure. Alas, she did not get nominated in the end, but she's obviously trying to be taken seriously in the film industry. It's been announced that she is writing and directing her first movie for Searchlight Pictures. I do wonder if the campaigning for the All Too Well short film kind of put an X on her back a little bit. She campaigned really hard, like really hard, and it might have been a bit too hard. She was put together with Martin McDonough for Variety's Directors on Directors interview press thing, and it's like a 30-minute interview where two directors talk to each other about everything to do with the film industry. And Taylor Swift basically directed one short film, and now she's suddenly getting to have that opportunity. It just felt a little bit like, she needs to prove her chops in some way, and she especially needs to prove her chops because she's come from the world of music, and that's very different to the world of film. And I think the Academy are going to be like, yeah, show us what you got and show us you can do it again and again and again. It's a difficult road for her, it really is. Because as well, when you look at the list of musicians and singers that have managed to get Oscar nominations outside of the music categories, it's very small. The list is quite short, and a lot of them are for acting awards. I mean, Cher is basically the blueprint when she won for Moonstruck, and Barbra Streisand as well. Barbra Streisand is pretty iconic because one of her movies that she directed was actually nominated for Best Picture, The Prince of Tides, and she was also nominated for Best Director at the Golden Globes for Yentl. So she was able to really make that shift quite well and be taken very seriously in the film industry as well. I feel like Barbra Streisand may be the only one who's made that successful move to writing and directing, but she still never got a Best Directing nomination from the Oscars, and I feel that has something to do with misogyny because it was the 80s and 90s, and there's definitely a great video by Be Kind Rewind about this exact thing. I would definitely link that in the description, so definitely check that one out. And aside from music and directing and writing, what about the possibility that Taylor Swift could get nominated for an acting performance? My God, I'm already laughing at that. I know that it's such a long shot, but I want to ask the questions. I want to see, you know? Judging from what she's performed in so far, I don't know if she's got the chops. She is picking film roles now that are kind of pushing her into the Oscars world. I mean, forget Valentine's Day back in 2010 and that weird like CSI episode that she did. Forget about all that. Recently, she's appeared in Cats, which we talked about, was directed by The King's Speech director Tom Hooper, who is an Oscar winner. And then she appeared in Amsterdam last year, which was written and directed by David O. Russell, who has been very successful at the Oscars. He's never won one, but his films American Hustle, The Fighter, and Silver Linings Playbook have all done very well and gotten Best Picture nominations. So you can see that Taylor Swift is trying to appear in these movies that could be in Oscars contention and really get noticed by the Oscar voters. Alas, both of those movies totally flopped, both critically and commercially, so her success rate so far isn't great. I feel like she may be good, but she hasn't really had an opportunity to shine because these movies just haven't been good. And when it comes to Taylor Swift winning an award at the Academy Awards, I think it's a very difficult path for her. She's obviously making all the right moves and doing what she can. I feel like her best bet would be winning Best Original Song for a movie that is a smash hit success, not just publicly, but also at the Oscars. I think it needs a lot of nominations. I think it needs to be a Best Picture nominee, and I think she needs to write a smash hit for it as well. I think it's something like Billie Eilish writing a James Bond theme song, like a smash hit movie with a smash hit song that everybody knows and everybody loves. She needs to make it utterly irresistible for the Academy Awards to not only nominate her, but also give her the win. I think that is her best bet, at least until we see how good she is at the writing and the directing stuff, which I'm not gonna lie, I am a little bit skeptical and hesitant about. I'm gonna go in blind. I'm gonna hope for the best. I really want her to succeed. I think that would be wonderful. You know, we all want everybody to do really well. We cannot talk until we see the final product, and I'm honestly very excited for that. I think she's a wonderful talent. She's an incredible songwriter and a great performer, and I think if she applies that to the movies that she's writing and directing, we could be in for some really cool cinema. So fingers crossed for that. Well, that concludes today's show on Taylor Swift and whether she's ever going to win an Academy Award. Let me know in the comments, do you think that she'll ever get nominated or if she'll ever even win? Or do you think the Academy just like has it out for her and we're never gonna see her at the Oscars? I hope you've enjoyed watching. I make videos every week on all things to do with entertainment and awards season, movies, music, TV shows, everything. I love it all. So if you love that too, definitely hit subscribe and also hit like. I hope you have a wonderful week. I will see you next time.